What's going on, everyone? My name is SiahZ, and welcome to our Bow Huntress Amazon build. With 0.2 right around the corner and the patch notes finally revealed, I wanted to make a Bow Huntress Amazon League Starter build for you guys that you can kind of use as a template a bit going into endgame and really go ahead and be able to play this archetype because it has amazing stuff going into it that really does benefit bow builds, and I do think it's going to be the new king over ranger at the current state of the game. Obviously, fair warning, there was a lot of skill changes that they did not put into the patch notes, specifically about a lot of the damage growth per levels and other stuff. Also with the unknowns about the new uniques and support gems, there could be a lot of new crazy stuff brought in, but I wanted to put this out there for you guys to have a template to go into the league start, be able to go through the campaign with this and be able to start end game and stuff like that, and still do content if you wish to follow the guide, but have the template there to really expand on it and get something crazy going into it with all these new uniques that I'm sure are going to be amazing. Before we get into it, if you guys do enjoy the video or you're liking what I'm doing on my YouTube channel, you consider hitting a like on the video and a sub to the channel. It helps me out immensely, and it really does help with the YouTube algorithm, and in turn that is the best way to support me. I also do stream pretty much every day at 11 or 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys do have questions about the League Start guide, I should be live right now on YouTube and Twitch. The links for that will be in the description as well as the comment section of the video. So without further ado, let's get into why this Ascendancy, in my opinion, is going to be insane for bow builds. So why do I think the Amazon Ascendancy is going to be so much better than the Ranger Ascendancy? Well, the simple fact is we can accuracy stack and go into things like critical strike. Now, what critical strike will do for us basically is it's going to make it to where our chance to hit with attacks that exceed 100%, so basically our excess of the chance to hit, is going to have 25% of that go to be gained as additional critical hit chance. Meaning that if we have about, say, 8,000 to 9,000 accuracy rating, which is easy to get, it's not too much investment to get that, we can easily get around 8 to 9% base crit chance added, which is absolutely massive if you really think about it, and it honestly does free up a lot of possibilities in the build, such as running other unique bows and even dropping cast on shock, like I have winter support and stuff like that we were running previously. On top of that, the other nodes, for example, like going into penetrate potentially over here, so this way we can get basically the same thing with our chance to hit, we can do that to gain weapons have added physical damage. Now this isn't base, it's not going to be added to our weapons and have increases and stuff like that. It's just kind of like rolling it on a ring, but it still is nice overall. So we're going to test that down, and we're going to test Predatory Instinct as well to see exactly which one of these will give us more damage overall. If you don't know what Predatory Instinct does, basically the health bar of a boss, there'll be a giant red segment, you'll get more damage on that segment basically, and that's what Predatory Instinct does. So we're going to be testing all of that, but it also is really big because we're going to get access to Stalking Panther down here. Now in the patch notes, they did say that Grim Feast is taken out of the game. You cannot use it anymore. They're going to rework the whole gem, meaning that it's probably going to be really good to go into full evasion rating now. So the fact that our helmet, gloves, and boots are going to be doubled. Now it does suck that our body armor is halved, but we can get around this by running, maybe even potentially opening up to some unique body armors and other stuff that we can add into the build to really juice it. It's going to really help get an evasion rating up there a lot, so we can take acrobatics and stuff like that. But overall, the Ascendancy just seems super juiced and really good to run stuff like that. Even getting like elemental infusion up here is going to be huge because this will allow us to clear really well and has really good applications and really good base attack damage percentage on it that we could potentially run into like a power or, you know, and frenzy charge generator build, and just as long as we're consuming those, we keep getting these infusions that allow us to clear and potentially do some insane boss DPS. So I think overall there's a lot better applications and a lot more things in here compared to Ranger that really opens up a lot of different possibilities for bow builds that otherwise we couldn't do with Ranger. Now I will have a link to the build guide here that you're seeing on screen. I have like leveling trees, I have stuff set up to follow while you're going through campaign and stuff like that. I also have leveling gems, I have an endgame tree, all that you can follow. For the skills, obviously just get the gems when you can, and then for the support gems, I have them basically in priority, so just get them, you know, as you unlock the required like uncut tiers and stuff like that, the uncut support gems to get them. But from there, I did want to kind of get into how we're going to be generating frenzy and adore charges, since we are going to go into elemental infusions and we want to be consuming those to get the infusions. Now we are running combat frenzy. Now this did get nerfed. It's 4.1 seconds now per frenzy instead of like 1.5, but it's still going to be good because it'll allow us to generate frenzy charges. They may be thinking, how are we doing this? Because we have to freeze and we don't really have too much cold damage on our gear and stuff like that. So what are we doing to actually freeze enemies? If we come over and look, this is infused weapon. This is the same thing as our basically infusion. This is what it's going to be doing. So we're going to consume a power charge. 100% of our physical damage is converted to cold, which we should freeze an enemy, generate a frenzy. That'll be consumed with charge infusion. It'll be consuming about every 4 seconds or so. That'll consume one each charge, so frenzy and power charge, and that'll allow us to get both of the infusions to do massive damage and kind of keep chaining and stuff like that back into each other. And since obviously we have Red Flare Conduit, we're going to get a 20% chance to actually gain a power charge on hit. So that's how we get our power charges, and that's how we consume them. Now, obviously later down the line, once we do some pinnacle bossing and we acquire the storm, I do want to throw it in and try to see how this is. The reason why this could be so good is because obviously we're going to be critting since we're a crit build, and we're going to be getting crit off our accuracy rating. And this will actually trigger a lightning bolt skill on crit hit. Now this is pretty massive because we can throw a potential support in here, and this will actually consume a power charge on use if possible. Now it states that it's only supposed to work on skills that we use ourselves, but for some reason it does work with skills like Choir of the Storm that's on here. So we can take that and get full effect of like power charge consumption with running this amulet. So obviously something there to look into in the future stuff. I just didn't throw it on obviously because Choir of the Storm is obviously a later game unique that we're going to get, not really be able to access it off the start. That's why I threw in just a normal solar amulet with spirit and stuff like that. But obviously if we did run Choir of the Storm, we would have to solve the spirit issues in another way, but it could still be pretty insane for that power charge consumption to frenzy charge generation, and kind of have like that loop to really do some massive damage and to be able to clear really efficiently. Now we're going to get into the passive tree, and then we can do the Ascendancy nodes and what you should be taking in order and stuff like that there. So obviously Huntress is going to have some different starting stuff at the beginning here, but we don't exactly know what that's going to be, and they've added like spear support and some other stuff for Huntress support throughout the tree. Again, we don't know all of the passive nodes, the extent of what they're going to do, etc. So I just made a mock-up of like a ranger since they start in the exact same area. Now obviously some stuff's going to change, but I looked into all the passive nodes that we took like down here and all that, and none of these were in the patch notes. None of them said they were changed, taken out, replaced, nothing of those like word lines. So we should 100% be fine there. Just the starting over here might be a tiny bit different, but again, I'll update this as soon as we know any information on those passive skills. So we are basically coming down, and we are not taking Master Fletching because it's got a huge nerf. So these nodes, these like small nodes, instead of 10, it's 6% now. The big node is nerfed to 20% now. So it's only 32% going up to the top of here. And then these right and left nodes don't do anything with increased bonuses gained from Quiver. They now are going to give you 20% increased chance to inflict ailments with projectiles, or 50% increased stun buildup. So these left and right ones are completely useless, and I don't exactly know if it's really worth going into for 3 points anymore, considering it's such a big nerf. So it might still be worth, but I decided to take the points out and go to other like areas of the tree. So we're basically coming down. We're still taking stand to deliver. This has not changed, at least not in the patch notes it was said. Still good damage there and stuff like that. Going into Catalyst for obviously the elemental damage. Exploit, I feel like it's just a no-brainer. 50% more damage with elements, like it's huge. We are still going to be coming down and taking Frazzled because we want to have that magnitude of shock, and we should be inflicting it since we're still going to be doing shock with like the frenzy's charge consumption and other stuff like that. And we want to have high magnitude to get as much damage as possible. Still going to make me strike obviously for the crit damage, not a crit but attack. We're still be going into Sniper and Feathered Fletchings for the increased crit chance obviously, and we can roll projectile speed on the quiver as damage, which is nice. Since we're a crit build, obviously we're taking this full crit cluster for the crit chance and crit damage that it gives. And then we're actually going to be coming down and taking acceleration, and then this is where it gets into the new stuff. So obviously since we're accuracy stacking, we want to get into these nodes like Falcon Dive. This is going to give us a lot of attack speed for 250 evasion, since we have about 9 to 10,000 once we actually get into about, maps that are level 70, level 80. So we want to get this. It's going to give us a lot of attack speed overall. Plus the left side is just more crit chance and accuracy rating, and that's going to overall give us even more crit chance added to the build. On top of that, obviously we're going to keep coming down and actually going to Pinpoint, because this is going to give us even more accuracy rating equal to our crit chance. And since we're going to have like 40% or so on Lightning Arrow, that's a lot of accuracy rating added. Then we're going to come back and go into Escape Velocity. Again, we are going to be doing evasion, since we can potentially going into Stalking Panther and get a lot of increased evasion from our boots, gloves, and obviously helmet and stuff like that. Now, like I said, it might be better off just kind of going hybrid. And if you are doing hybrid at the beginning until you save up some currency, I would drop these 3 nodes, going to this one, obviously head up and then just take these 3 nodes going into Spectral Ward and kind of roll hybrid gear with Evasion and Energy Shield and just test to see how that's out. If you want to do that route, I might just go full Evasion and stuff like that. So that's why I would go Escape Velocity coming in, obviously taking Enhanced Reflexes with that Dex and the increased evasion that it gives, and then Beastly Skin for the 100% increased evasion from our body armor. Now, this is really good early on. If we are taking the halved version on the tree, might be worth dropping these 2 points and putting them into somewhere else, but that remains to be seen. Now we are going to be taking these 3 accuracy nodes to go into nearsighted. Huge amount of increased accuracy rating at close range, and we're basically always going to be butt up against people, especially on bossing. So we want to have that increased accuracy for the crit chance and potentially the physical damage added if we decide to go that route. We're still going to be taking Unbound Forces for that magnitude of shock. It's huge. Kite Runner again, projectile speed, damage, all good. Why not go for it? But then we're going to be taking these 2 clusters. Now the reason why I don't have emeralds in them is they said they're removing about 12 jewel sockets on the tree. Again, I don't know where these 12 are. I don't know if they're all loaded on one or like side of the tree or what's going on, but I figured probably be good to potentially say maybe 2 jewel sockets are being removed on each like kind of area for each class, right? So I decided to just leave 2 blank here to kind of simulate that. And then the last thing we're basically going to be doing is going into True Strike over to for the jugular, crit chance, crit damage, no brainer, and then obviously Deadly Force for like 70% increased damage if we've crit. A lot of overall damage, and that pretty much wraps up the tree. Now we can get into the Ascendancy. So I take these nodes in order. 100% I would go with Critical Strike down here, so this way we can get our crit chance. From there, I would roll up and take our Elemental Infusion, so this way we can have a better time clearing. And then I would roll into Stalking Panther down here for that evasion. Again, if you're taking like a hybrid, you would not take Stalking Panther, but just keep that in mind. And then finally, for the 4th and last Ascendancy, you can kind of see if going with Infused Avatar is worth it for that 50% less chance, or potentially see if going into something like Penetrate is going to be pretty good as well for that added physical damage, since we are already accuracy stacking. Also, going into actually Infused Avatar might be really worth it if the infusions we can get up there and generate to consume them, and if they are really good and really strong at doing damage, we could potentially nuke bosses with it, and then it might be worth going into Infused Avatar way more than Penetrate. But for now, I'm just going to leave Penetrate because it's there. It's just guaranteed damage. So in terms of order, like I said, this is what I would do. Like I said, 1 into 2, then 2 into 3, then finally 3 into 4. And I will have all this written on the guide as well. I did want to take a second real quick just to kind of explain some of the gems we're going into. And obviously, if you want to know all the supports, like endgame wise, what you're supposed to be taking, and even like leveling with the leveling trees and all that, the link to the guide will be in the description as well as the comment section of the video. But the reason why we're going and taking rods and Orbit Storms and stuff like that is because a lot of the other stuff got nerfed. Magnetic Salvo got butchered, Bone Storm got butchered. So pretty much running that and still like doing our Magnetic Salvo build is pretty much not going to be viable anymore. I'll have to look into it extensively, but from just reading the nerfs and stuff they did with it, it's pretty much unplayable at like first glance. But going into it, the only real nerf to like rods, Orbit Storms, Lightning Arrows, stuff like that is going to be on the rod side. Rods, they get a nerf from like 14 change down to 6. So it is like a 50% DPS nerf, but it's still going to be very strong, and it's still going to be good enough to go in and do content and get through maps and farm up and do all that good stuff. But that's it for this League Star guide. Like I said, I just wanted to put something out there you guys can take in and go in day 1 and have a good template and good stuff to go in and farm endgame maps and grind currency and stuff like that. I do want to say I'm going to be streaming the launch of 0.2 this Friday, as well as over the weekend and next week and stuff like that. We'll be grinding out, finding all the new crazy stuff, testing and doing builds and all that good stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll be live here on YouTube as well as Twitch and all that good stuff. But I hope you guys do enjoy the guide. Obviously, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, depending on when you're watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.